Oh, I don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I can't hear you though.
Oh, you can't. Mic check, mic check.
Um, Annabelle, where's the where's unmuted? Mute.
Anything?
It's
Is your
on.
volume on?
Oh my! There you go.
Yeah.
There, my volume.
Ah.
Sorry.
The volume is muted. You won't be able to hear it.
I realize that
I
now.
mean, he got 50% of the way.
I try to.
What is it? Close only counts in horseshoes and what is it?
Yeah, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. However, I'd like to change that to horseshoes and explosives. Because if you can see a nuke, they got you.
Someone did a nuclear bomb at one point?
Exactly.
I mean, pretty effective.
Bye. Well, she's used to that. She's schooling remotely.
Yeah. Is there any chance you have a G2 pen in your pocket?
Oh my God.
I do. I love these things.
I'm telling you.
They're the best.
They are, though. I said that back in like 2003 or 4, and people were like, yeah, whatever. Maybe 2005, there's a report that comes out they are the best disposable pen, because they are.
They
are.
I'm going to go get my headphones so that everybody can work here. So,
Absolutely.
Hang on one second.
Oh, that's so great.
He's a chef.
Well, I assume so, but that's not very helpful.
Okay. Sorry about that. Now you probably can't hear me, can you? They're connected to my.
You're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great! Fabulous.
Yeah, excellent. How are you doing? Good day?
Yeah, it's a good day today. I'm finishing up 2 cookbooks with other chefs. Moving on to some more.
You honestly might have the most cookbooks I have ever seen. Honestly, you might be.
Oh, that's how I make money.
Absolutely. Do what you got to do. So if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and jump right into it, all right?
Sure.
All right. Michael Ruhlman. Am I pronouncing your name properly?
You are indeed.
Absolutely. Good. Author, been writing several cookbooks. I think last I checked, it was over 24 or 25 cookbooks.
Around there,
25.
Yeah. They're not all cookbooks. There's some fiction, there's some memoir, there's nonfiction, there's nonfiction food, nonfiction chefs.
You have nonfiction food. I saw The House. What was your first one? Where are the books? Yeah.
Sex education. Well, the last nonfiction I did was called Grocery: The Buying and Selling of Food in America.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about it?
I was curious about where our food comes from. I was telling everybody to, as chefs know where their food is coming from. You should know where your food is coming from too. And all I knew is that mine came from the grocery store. I didn't know how I was getting all those pea pods in the middle of March. Where's all this food coming from? So it started that way. Also, my father loved to grocery shop. And so after he died, that was sort of a way I connected with my father.
I feel like that's a very common thread. Is a lot of people involved in the culinary industry always have it's usually connection with their parents, sometimes grandparents, but it's usually the main connection, don't you think?
Yeah.
I love that. So my first thing is, I'd like to ask, what do you think has been the strongest benefit that you've gotten from being able to cook? I saw that you went to CIA. It seemed to be mostly as a study to learn about how you can write about it and get more involved in the industry.
Well, I went there thinking, this would be a cool book, and I had no intentions of being a food writer or anything. I just wanted a book idea. I thought I'd get in there, get out with a story, but I realized very quickly that you couldn't know what it meant to be a chef without actually becoming one, without adopting the whole ethos of getting there and never saying no. And, that whole, chefs are different. The demands are different. People in the outside world think chefs are crazy. It's because they work in these really stressful environments. I always say that I'm so glad I learned how to cook because it changed the way I sort of moved through life in terms of efficiency, organization, so many things that help us to function well in a professional kitchen, help us to function as well in the world. And it's why chefs, I'm sure you feel this way too, the chefs just sort of can't believe how, say, contractors work. And so they can say, sorry, I didn't get the tiling done today. But you can't say, sorry, I forgot to braise the short ribs.
Yeah.
So and once I'd adopted that whole ethos in order to become a chef, I used the same rules and behavior to write the book, because I had to write the book in 4 months. And I didn't think you could do that, but I didn't think that way anymore, because you don't say no, chef.
Yeah.
So I
make it happen.
Yeah. So, and by the time I'd done that and written about it, I was actually basically the best student the CIA had ever had, because I was interviewing instructors, taking notes every day, recording things, and also learning to cook. So, and then I came out of there and I knew how to cook. And then I was broke and I couldn't get another book job, another book contract. And so I thought, I've learned how to cook. I'll get a job as a cook. So I went out to a barbecue joint to a woman who owned it named Susie Heller. I knew she was really well connected with folks. She got a stage with Jean-Georges for one of my friends. And I just knew she was really well connected. I went out there in June of 97, June 2097. And I said, I want to work for the best chef I can, because that's how you learn. You got to work for the best people, especially when you're young, and learn how to do it. And she looked at my stuff. She'd seen that I'd written this boys' school book that I'd written but hadn't published yet, The Making of a Chef, about the CIA. And she said, wow, I'm working with Thomas Keller on his cookbook, and we're looking for a writer. So, think about it.
Life is funny.
I'm broke. I've never written anything nationally in food. I'd written in Cleveland. I was living in Cleveland. Broke, unknown writer, goes out to a restaurant, a barbecue restaurant in the sticks of Ohio, and walks out with tickets to what was at the time the most exciting restaurant in America, to work with one of its greatest chefs. So that's sort of God saying, I don't care what you want to do. You're going to do this. You're good at this.
Absolutely.
That's how I got my education in food, and that's how I come to write about food. I have a knack for it. I like it. It's been my livelihood, and I love doing it. I love the people. I love chefs. Chefs are the best people in the world to hang out with. Most of them. They are. I mean, because they know they're about generosity. They're about serving. They're about feeding people, and that goes to the spiritual side as well. So there's a lot of thugs out there, and there's a lot of creepy chefs, I know. But the good chefs, there's nobody better to hang out with. You know that too, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I've spent enough time. Absolutely. One thing that really stuck out to me, that I find myself getting to the point where I can literally say that I've forgotten more things than a lot of the people that I work with have ever even known at this point, right? And I'm at 31, but I'm almost at 16 years. But what you said was, you don't say no. That's actually a phrase I forgot that was even a thing that you should know. It's just, yeah. Hey, we're going to run out of X, Y, and Z. Okay, make it work.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. Figure out how to make it work.
Right. That's a chef's creed,
And I love how you brought that into the rest of your life also. Hey, I don't have a job right now. I don't have money. I got to make this work. What do? Get a job in a kitchen.
Right. I keep learning about it. I want to learn more about this industry. Get a job. And I did. I got a job as a cook in Cleveland. She helped me get a job there. So
I love that. I absolutely love that. That's so great. What I'd like to ask next would be what would you like to give as advice to a home cook that is thinking about taking it up to the next step?
One, learn how to season food properly. Most home cooks, okay, no, number one, sharpen your knives. Get a sharp knife.
Yes.
Buy one, get one. The biggest problem in home kitchens is dull knives. So find a good sharpener in your area. They now have some service where you mail away your knives and get them sharpened and get them sent back to you. But find a good whetstone. Don't take them to your hardware store. Find a good whetstone.
Please don't.
Find a good, some way, or buy cheap knives and use them until they get dull. Just use a sharp knife. That makes all of cooking not only easier, the food tastes better. You slice through herbs, you don't mash the herbs. You slice through an onion, you mash it. So buy sharp knives, have a good surface to work on, a big surface. I see so many people working on like a notebook-sized cutting board. It's very difficult to work on.
Absolutely. And that's why you hate cooking, because it's such a pain.
It's a pain. You don't have room. You're setting yourself up to be discouraged.
Absolutely.
So sharp knife, big, heavy cutting board, plenty of space to work. Learn how to be organized, because being organized makes the work so much easier. Learn how to season your food, meaning learn how to salt your food properly, because most people don't season their food enough, as I'm sure you're aware of as well. And then I would suggest doing the same recipe over and over again, because don't just try a new recipe after recipe. Learn the nuances of a dish, and then it teaches you about how heat works. I mean, if you love salmon, try cooking it in many different ways. Slow roasting it, high roasting it.
Yes.
So you learn
butter braise.
Things work.
Yeah.
Of course, as you know, you mentioned in an email, ratios are a huge help.
So important.
You have to realize that recipes aren't really a list of ingredients, but rather one ingredient, the proportion of one ingredient relative to another. And so when you know that, it helps you be more creative, it helps you improvise. And of course, what you learn in culinary school is the basics. How to make a stock, how to make a sauce, how important that is. Come on, cat. So I've always stressed, if you know my work, always stressed the fundamentals, the basics. And I wrote a book, Ruhlman's 20, I was sitting at a writers conference, a food writers conference at the Greenbrier in West Virginia, and was having a mint julep with an editor after the day's seminars were done. And he said, Michael, my cooking's it's sort of plateaued. I can't really get any better. And I said, Bill,
yes.
there's only like 20 things you need to know in order to cook anything.
Yep.
And he looked at me and said, that's a book. And I thought, wait a minute. I pulled 20 out of the hat. I've got a very eager cat here. It's more than 5, but it wasn't 100.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all.
20 was about right. So I wrote a book called Ruhlman's 20, the 20 ideas and tools you need to know to cook everything. I am going to put this cat away where she won't bother us. So sorry about that.
No need.
But to repeat, there's about 20 things you need to know in order to cook anything. So if you know those things, then you can improvise, you can be more comfortable. Don't be afraid. I also tell people, cooking's not hard. We're taught that it's hard. Food companies try to sell us easy convenience food because cooking's supposedly so hard. That's how we got such shitty food in America. They convinced us that that they're going to make our lives so much easier by giving us frozen dinners and boxed cake mixes. All these things. Well, did it work? Do we have more time? Has it freed us all up? No.
No, it made life worse.
Yeah. So again, don't think that cooking is difficult. It's not. It's just do basic stuff. Use really good ingredients. To buy the best ingredients that you can afford.
Absolutely.
And prepare them simply. And take pleasure. Give yourself enough time. Don't try to, if you want to go to the next level, don't do it when you got to do a million other things during the day or take care of the kids or whatever, whatever your situation is. Give yourself time so you can take the time to do things correctly. As you know, good cooking takes time.
Absolutely. That's if you want it fast, you're going to get exactly what you put into it. But if you take your time, personally, like for me, if I'm going to make a stock, I make a day of it because I'm going to make a whole dish out of it. I'm going to start around 8 in the morning and I'll get done at 8 at night. But man, it was worth the time. It was worth the time. It was worth the money. It's worth the energy.
Yeah, I will do that with a veal stock because it requires that time. And veal stock is such a valuable tool in the kitchen. That's another thing.
Absolutely.
Try making a veal stock. Buy a veal breast, cut it up, make veal stock. But also stock's not necessarily that hard. We don't have to use big stock pots. I made a stock last night with the leftover chicken carcass. I roasted a chicken, put it in a 2-liter pot, stuck it in a 180 oven covered with water, and let it go overnight. And I've got a nice chicken stock there tonight. So you don't.
It's going to be beautiful in the morning.
Yeah. Yes, my wife often has it for breakfast.
There you go. I love that. I love that. You did mention 2 of your books. What I do love about your books is that you seem to take it from an almost scientific approach to where if you just not necessarily follow these steps, but if you follow these principles, you finally have a vehicle for your imagination. If you were to say that if you take these 3 books of yours and you can make whatever you want in your mind. Now, me personally, I'm immediately thinking ratio, elements of cooking, and the Ruhlman's 20. That's my theory. If you have those 3 books in my mind, you should be able to do whatever. How does that sound to you?
It sounds good to me. I'd be honored if that were the actual case. The Elements of Cooking is sort of an opinionated glossary or opinionated dictionary about all these cooking terms, what they mean, what your most important tools are, what the best reference books are out there, I think, other than my own.
Sure.
Ratio gives you basic ratios and it's really helpful in baking. But you need a scale. You need a scale for ratios. I encourage people, especially bakers, to buy a scale and measure their flour because a cup of flour does not equal 8 ounces. It equals about 5 ounces, but that depends.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So,
did you sift it? Did you not?
What's that?
Did you sift it? Is it aerated? Is it compact? There's so many factors. As a baker, you absolutely have to have a scale.
Yeah, because if your cake recipe has 4 cups of flour in it, those 4 cups could weigh 6 ounces a cup, so that would be 24 ounces, or they could weigh 4 ounces a cup, 16 ounces. So that's a pound. That's a half pound difference.
Yeah, and of course your stuff turns out different. Of course.
Yeah. So learn to use a scale, especially if you're baking.
Absolutely. So one last question, if you don't mind.
No.
What is your system for building a recipe? Do you like to follow a theory? Like personally, I like to use what I call the roller coaster theory. So either you start up high, you work your way down, and this can be whether it's light and airy, or if you're going to start dense and heavy, if you're going to start off spicy and go to cool, however you're going to work out. How do you like to build your recipes?
That's interesting. What's an actual example that you can think of recently in a recent recipe or preparation that you did that applies that roller coaster metaphor?
Sure. So I generally like to build my menus. So I like to do pre-feed menus, either 3 or 5 or 7. They're always odd numbers because you can't do a roller coaster with an odd number. It feels funny. But if you do an odd number, let's just start off with 3, right? So I could do like a coconut pineapple panna cotta to start off with. So now we're starting off with something that's kind of light, and I should have started that as an ender. That was a mistake. But anyways, it'd be something that's kind of light, something that's a little bit acidic. So then in the middle, I'd start off with something a little heavier, maybe like a beef roulade is something I made fairly recently. So I made a beef roulade with a cherry demi-glace, which of course I had to make a veal stock with that. Golden mashed potatoes with a little truffle oil, And you can start off with, I have a salad that I use a yuzu vinaigrette. And I've been working on that yuzu for 6 years now.
Oh, yeah?
6 years I've been tweaking and getting everything a little bit right. Which, again, to your point, when you said work on the same thing over and over and over. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think of that concept until 2013. And of course, no surprise, the products of my efforts skyrocketed from there. Skyrocketed. Just doing little things over and over and over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because cooking it's infinitely nuanced, and there is no recipe that can cover every single factor. You know, even a recipe for buttered toast. You know, what kind of bread are you using? How thick is it? What are you using to toast it? How cold is your butter?
What kind of butter? Are you making a compound butter? Or are you using what animal did it come from?
And that is just for buttered toast. And imagine a more complex, your beef roulade recipe, more complex. I start off by thinking about, I like to start off with, I like the classics. So, and I like basic techniques. So I'll think, do we want to do a grill tonight? Do we want to do a stew? Do we want something roasted? Do we want to go vegetarian? Do we want to go pasta? And then to build the actual meal, I always think it was fun. I was making sandwiches with my chef Pardis, the guy who taught me how to cook really at the CIA. And how you put together a sandwich is really how you put together any meal. And it's sort of cool to see. Okay, my wife's getting on Zoom now too. It's crazy days.
Absolutely.
What protein do we want? What vegetable? And then we think about acidity. Do we want this acidic? Add some lemon juice or lime juice maybe. Do we want to add heat? And how do we want to add that heat? Do we want to add just cayenne powder? Do we want to slice up some chilies? So you think about those components of the food, the savory component. Do we need a sweet element? Do we want an acidic element? The best food combines a little of both. I mean, so if you wanted sweet, maybe you'd want some grilled onions on there for sweetness. And so that's basically how I develop and build a recipe.
I love that. So many things. It seems like we agree on a lot of points. I really appreciate it.
You indeed.
Well, at this point, I feel like I've taken so much of your time. I really do appreciate it. You have no idea. You have no idea.
You seem like a sweet guy, and I bet you're a great cook and chef as well. So happy to be on there, and thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how about your latest book that you put out?
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit?
From Scratch. It's called From Scratch: 10 Meals, 175 recipes, and techniques you'll use over and over again. And again, I'm all about teaching. So it takes 10 meals, like a roasted chicken, like I did last night. It shows all the things you can do when you know that meal. How to turn that chicken carcass into stock, what to do with that stock. Do you turn that stock into a sauce? Do you turn it into a soup? What to do with chicken leftovers, how to make 3 different great chicken salads, and so on. Lasagna teaches you how to make pasta. It teaches you a red sauce, and a white sauce, and a meat sauce. Paella, and it gets even, you can get either, it can be very difficult or very, very easy. If you want to make a Reuben from scratch, I teach you how to
my favorite sandwich.
Yeah, back to the sandwiches.
That's my favorite.
Make your own pastrami. Cure your own duck legs and make your own sausage for a cassoulet.
Yes.
So 10 meals, and whether you're a beginner cook or an expert cook, it's all the things you can do with these 10 meals.
Absolutely. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll be posting a link on where they can find that. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And if there's anything I can do for you, please feel free to reach out anytime.
I've got your email. Thanks very much. Good to talk.